Hello, welcome. Good to be here with you on the eve of the Capricorn full moon, which is tomorrow, July 10th. Can't believe we're already moving through July. It feels quick, quick, quick. So, what I want to talk today about, which will also be kind of connected because this is part of what came through with that activation, is about foundations and structures and the energetics of what is being created now and how we co-create with the divine through energetics, right? Through energy, through codes of light. Now, I think we all are aware that everything begins as energy first before it is concretized into physicality, right? We have our energy bodies, we have our subtle faculties, right? Our thoughts and our emotions are energetic. And we could say that our patterns of negative or positive programming is energetic first. And then over time, with repetition, it becomes wired into physicality, right? So that's why we work with energy, and why energy is such, my hair is bothering me, and why energy is one of the primary levels that we always want to be addressing and working with, because that is the birthing ground of everything that is. So our thoughts are energy, right? The sound moving out is energy. It's frequency. It's consciousness. So on the Patreon page, you can actually go over and get this, the full moon activation with light language and meditation, and it's going to actually, like, it took us all through this process of really grokking the experience of how we're starting to do this. But I'm gonna piggyback on that a little bit more. So what's coming in right now, right? As everything shifts into higher frequency and higher consciousness, we are learning to be the creator beings that we are. Now, being creators actually means that we are co-creating with the divine. It's not a self-will creation like manifestation. Those can be the same thing, but I sort of differentiate them a little bit. And so when we are actually working with co-creation, we are listening. We are following the inner promptings of the wisdom that we carry that is connected to divine source. And the way that this information comes through, we could say, is in our divine blueprint. And when we divinely align and when we attune to that energy more fully, we can imagine, sense, and feel, right, that there are codes of light that carry information, that are energetic, that are subtle, that are inviting us to align with them. In other words, right, align with that consciousness and walk it down onto this plane. That's kind of how I talk about that as embodiment. We walk it down onto this plane through our embodying those frequencies and consciousness that are first light codes. And these light codes, right, again, they are pockets of information. They are libraries, right? When we receive light language, every sound, every tone, every word is like a library of divine information that is here to encode our sacred technology, each of us uniquely, in what is right and true, because it is connected to a higher intelligence. It isn't operating from what my human mind or being or, attachments want. It is coming through from what is already true about our soul presence and unique soul essence. So just breathe that in for a minute, right? This is the new way of creating the realities that we are being called to usher in. What does that mean? That means that we who are on this trajectory of awakening, of ascension, of raising consciousness, of living from love, from becoming the original divine love that we are, to co-creating with higher intelligences that we are already connected to, right? Star families, the galactic guides and families, our Christed families, our angelic families, and some of these families also, or these guides, are us. So it's like this ongoing download of who we truly are to create what I like to call heaven on earth. Now, this requires to be able to become, adept at this or masters in our own right. This requires all of the processes that we've been doing over all these years, right? Clearing out the density, clearing out the illusions, clearing out the lies that are not actually relevant or true to the true human nature, right? Our true humanness is a divine heritage. Now, when we're co-creating in this way, we're doing this from the inside out. We can see many creations, right, that we don't know that they've been created in that way necessarily, because we don't know them until they're in the physical form. But now we are becoming more privy to the subtleties and the energetics and the layers upon layers of what it takes to actually co-create foundations and structures that first are in the unseen realms. And these foundations and structures, right, are, we could say, the new Capricorn, because the Capricorn full moon, Capricorn, among many other things, right, it's practical, it's grounded, it's concise, it's physical. It is structures and systems and foundations that basically have supported how the world functions. And now we're witnessing and watching those foundations crumble, and we who are the co-creators now are learning how to co-create with higher love and intelligence, because we are opting to be connected in with the divine, and now we understand, and we're understanding more how energy works. I think it's super exciting, and I think that I feel the anticipation of how many new avenues and potentials are opening up because of this. When we are operating from the inside out, from our soul presence, from divine inspiration and guidance, we open up into the quantum field that is all potentiality. And when we align ourselves with what is the highest potentials for the highest good of all, that we each are here to bring forth, there are realities that we have not even been able to fathom because they are beyond the previous limited perceptions and ways of seeing or even imagining reality. Where do I want to go with this? Not sure how much I kind of want to run on this. Let me look at the notes. Yeah, so this is a little bit more that we touch on in the activation, is that Capricorn has worked from the outside in, right? Capricorn also governs authority. And I think Pam Gregory talks about this a lot. Top-down structure. And top-down structure has authority over, governs over populations, governs over thought forms, governs over, even cultural conditioning, so to speak, governs over religious programming and conditioning, political, social structures. And it wants us to look outside to these structures to give us directives. What is right or wrong, good or bad, what is appropriate, right? And the more that we look outside, like we've talked about a myriad of times, we lose our soul power, right? We scatter it. The new structures, the new foundations that are these higher consciousnesses are activating more sovereignty within us. We begin to listen to our own deeper truths and knowing. We begin to develop our maturity, intellectual, emotional, embodied, somatic, and spiritual IQs. When we're just sort of, giving ourselves away and giving ourselves over to other systems and governing thought forms, right? They are thought forms. They're a group of beliefs that might have been relevant in the time past, and they're not relevant anymore, right? So we see the crumbling. Where we're going is mastery, maturity, and sovereignty. So I'm going to just put this out here as the very last piece, which I think is fascinating. So from one perspective, okay, when I was going to school for the Essene priestess initiation years ago, down at the Tree of Life Rejuvenation Center, Rabbi Gabriel Cousins, who's also a doctor and a myriad of amazing things, amazing credentials, they just kind of don't end. Because it was a Judaic path that I was in at that time, he was talking about how originally our 10 commandments, right? And there were more than 10 originally, but that's a whole different thing. So the 10 commandments came along at a time in human development and levels of density and narrowness of consciousness that because of our lack of immaturity, because we hadn't gone through specific phases and stages of development and growth, that the 10 Commandments were given to guide humanity, because we in and of ourselves didn't know right from wrong. You know, that's a very black and white way to state it, because right and wrong is not, you know, it doesn't hold that kind of polarity, really. There are so many nuances and textures and variations and perceptions and all these things. But at that time, because of the frequency on our planet and in our consciousness, we were given these guidelines, and every culture, I believe, has kind of done their own version of this. The yamas and the niyamas, right, in India. And I'm sure that there's like Buddhist tenets and things like that. So we've always had these guidelines to help humanity to discern right and wrong behavior, how to align thoughts, emotions, behavior, ideally in a higher truth and expression. And we needed that authority, right? That external authority. That's not where we're at anymore. And part of what's changing with this is why we have to go through all of the growth that we're going through, all of the healing, all of the clearing, so that we can learn and ascertain divine truth, divine wisdom from within our own being. Because we are embodied and we are innately connected to the divine, because we are remembering our divinity. We are fostering and cultivating sovereignty, so that we don't need outside influences telling us what to do, what to believe, how to behave. However, we have to be mature enough to know how to be true adults, right? I believe it's in the Native American traditions that there's that phrase, to be a real human being is to be of a high level of maturity and integrity and responsibility and connection to all of life for the highest good of all, in service to, rather than taking from. This is what these new structures are starting to help us implement, these new energetics of us, to create a new foundation within us of our own divine presence and light. And this is why this up-leveling and upgrading is continuing, because we are evolving into a very new kind of species of humanness, right? Which is why I'm moving towards talking more about us from where we are going, not from where we've been. Because there's a vision now, there is a direction that we see, that we are not limited if we choose not to be limited, if we choose to open up to our highest potentiality. Amazing, right? Our highest divinity, our highest majestic beings. This is what all of our guides, right, from all the different levels, this is what they are helping us to aspire, to remember. So I think I'm going to end that here. I will put the Patreon link below, and thank you everyone. There's getting, it's brand new, and I'm not like, it just is what it is. I kind of just go at my own pace. But thank you everyone who are coming on, either as free members, purchasing a couple classes, thank you, and getting the one tier membership right now that I'm just, that's just started with the moon cycles and embodied frequencies. Like it's 888, right? I love one of the platforms is, a cup of coffee, right? It's like a latte that you might get, only it gets you through the whole month. So this activation, if you're a member for 888 on Patreon, then you're going to get, both of the moon cycles every month, plus 2 of the embodied frequency downloads, activations, meditations. And if you're not a member and you just want to purchase it, then it's 1111. Super, super simple. This was a really powerful and really fascinating, it was a very fascinating for me as well, activation. So you can continue to work with it once you purchase it, or if you're a member, and continue to get that support. All right, that's it. So links will be below. Thank you so much. And next Wednesday is our second class of Remembering Your Wholeness, and we're going to be working with loving our sacred shadow. All right. Much love, many blessings.